Before I get started, I need to point out that this game features some far more intense flashing screen effects than most, and since they occur throughout the game, I can't really edit around them. If you're sensitive to that kind of thing, feel free to give this episode a miss. There have been multiple attempts to do a Sega Superscalar style game on the Famicom. For the most part, these have not gone well. The limitations of addressable graphics ROM, sprite handling, and the 8-bit processor really struggled to make this kind of game even playable. The only one of these games so far that I would call good was Cosmic Epsilon. And Tetra Star happens to be by the exact same team, using the exact same hardware tricks, only they went even bigger. Which really makes Tetra Star a spiritual sequel to Cosmic Epsilon. Before I go any further, I should point out that there's a bit of a dispute whether or not Tetra Star is one word or two. And to that I say, the back of the box spells it as 2 words, so it's 2 words. The story in Tetra Star is long, convoluted, provided in an enormous introduction that you have to sit through 3 demos before it starts, and then keeps going with these elaborate cutscenes once you're in the game. The gist of it is that in the future some aliens come to Earth to build a Stargate, and then it turns out they were evil. Your alien robot dog buddy warned you, and the Earth built a fleet to fight off the aliens, but Robot Dog was abducted. Now that the invasion has started, you have to fight your way through 7 stages of aliens to get your shot at the alien homeworld. In battle, the B button fires your main gun, and the A button fires your special weapon. You start out with no special weapons at all, but as the story progresses, you'll get new equipment for your ship. Sometimes when you shoot down an alien craft, it will release a sphere, and collecting that will give you more ammunition for a weapon. You rotate through which alternate weapon you have equipped by hitting select, and honestly, they're not that great or useful until you hit the final stage. At that point, you're given infinite ammo for them, and then at least the air attack ones are useful. You'll have a hard time telling the difference between wide and napalm. Those both drop fiery explosions onto the surface that you're flying over, which means that in space battles, which are half the game, they can't be used at all. Wide releases 2 bombs in a small spread, while napalm drops a line of explosions. The anti-air missiles are probably the most useful weapon, as they're homing missiles. These 3 weapons are just as strong as your basic shot, so there isn't much reason to use them, but having shots track your targets does help a lot. The final weapon, the bio-whatever, I couldn't figure out what that one was supposed to stand for. This gun is stronger than your regular weapon. Of course, 99% of what you encounter dies in one hit anyways, but it's stronger, can penetrate enemies, and you can charge it up to be even more powerful. It's something that you'll want to break out for bosses. In Famidaily, I generally like to let the visuals and audio for the games speak for themselves, but Tetra Star is unusual in both respects, and it's worth pointing out. The scaling effects used to give the planetary landscapes in Cosmic Epsilon some depth return here, and they're used in a way with a kind of parallax scrolling to give a much better sense of flying through an environment. The ship designs are distinctive outlines that are easy to make out, and the game is pretty consistent with regards to signaling what can kill you. All of the bullets are those red double dots that spin out toward you, and they scale up well enough that you have a pretty good idea of where they're going to go. The area of Tetra Star that doesn't quite live up to this quality of visual design are the sections where you have to dodge obstacles. For those, I often found it difficult to tell exactly where things were. Obviously, the music in Tetra Star consists entirely of classical compositions. I won't bother running through which ones they arranged, since there are around 20 of them. But something you might not have noticed regarding this is that some of the songs are augmented with instrument samples. There's only a handful of these samples, but Tetra Star pitches them up or down as appropriate. When you consider everything else that the game has to do at the same time on an 8-bit processor, that's really impressive. If you want to check out the music without having to play the full game, you can always hold down A and B and press start to get to a sound test. This sound test also happens to be how you unlock cheats. Leave the sound at 0 and hit down to activate the samples menu. Then sound 65 and sample 2 lets you set the number of ships. Sound 68, sample B, and rest 9 activate Phoenix, which is invincibility. And running through 255 settings for Phoenix by holding down right and then going back to 253 when it stops changing is how you can access the stage select. Honestly, you don't really need the cheats in Tetra Star though. They give you 3 lives and 3 continues to complete the game with, but hand out extra lives like popcorn, especially when you reach the end of the stage and you get bonus points for how many ships are left in your fleet. Your surviving ships depend on how well you've done in the level, and it isn't that hard to earn up a ton of extra lives like this. Although Tetra Star seems to be obscure in Japan, I did find quite a few people pointing to it as one of the Famicom's high points. Tetra Star definitely has its flaws, but it is an amazing game, and one of the technical showcases for the Famicom. It's just astounding that it works as well as it does. Unfortunately, this is the last action game that Home Data ever produces, so we never get a conclusion to the Cosmic Epsilon trilogy. It's a shame. I really would have liked to have seen a sequel.